Welcome to The Kingdom, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics in a land defended by Sir Ross's Knights. Now here's your host, Rocco Jeppi.
Hello, Knights Nation, and welcome back to The Kingdom Podcast, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics. We thank you for tuning back in for this episode number 26. We're going to talk some women's basketball, lacrosse, and everything coming up in the spring. We are ready to get set here today. We're going to start with our women's basketball squad. The rankings just came out, and they remain number 12 in the nation after a huge win Wednesday, the 19th of February. This was probably the most electric atmosphere of the season. Right around 200 spectators. We gave away freebies to the first 75 fans. 20 lucky fans won a free Chick-fil-A sandwich, courtesy of Chick-fil-A of Nottingham Square. And then the game itself, which was just an absolute treat to watch. The Knights got off. They got the first basket of the game, and then Lackawanna tied it at 2. From that point on, the Knights were in control. They never again trailed, and there was only that tie in the game. The Knights led. They tied it 2, and then they took it on home from there, winning the game by a final of 85-71. A huge win for the Knights, this first-year program. They're coming off of the conference championship last week, their first in 38 years. And coming into the game, Lackawanna was riding a 15-game win streak. They were ranked number 21 in the nation, just outside of the top 20. And they became the third victim to fall to the Knights that were a member of the 2019 semifinals. Last year, the Division II semifinals were Cape Fear, Kansas City, Kansas, Union County, and Lackawanna. The Knights have played and defeated 3 of those colleges. Union County back on November 16th, 80-66. They defeated Cape Fear before that on November 9th, 82-73. And then, of course, Lackawanna, 85-71. They're averaging 82 points per game against those 3 teams and an average margin of victory of 12 points. Not bad, taking on those opponents who were in the national conversation last year. And that's exactly what head coach Mike Cini wanted. And he credited in an interview this past week our athletic administrator, Greg Whitcomb. The two of them put together a very challenging schedule. Obviously, there's only so much you can do with your region and conference schedule because you got to play who's in your region, who's in your conference. And there were some whispers out in the basketball stratosphere that, the team was unproven. But I think after that game against Lackawanna and defeating another ranked opponent this season, the team has put those rumors to rest so far. In that game, leading the way, as she has done all season long, was Maya Moy. She's the 3-time defending Maryland JUCO Conference Women's Basketball Player of the Month, and she had a game-high 29 points on 9 of 16 shooting. She was not alone, though. She had some help. Freshman Trinity Horton from Chesapeake High School in Baltimore County. She was feeling it. She was feeling the electricity in that building on Wednesday. Ended the game as the second leading scorer with 17 points on 6 of 16 shooting, which included going 5 of 13 from downtown. Sophomore Aislinn Flynn, she finished with her third double-double in as many games and her 9th of the season on 10 points and 12 rebounds. Casey Gagan, I started calling her the other day the queen of theft. Casey Gagan finished the game 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. We're going to have more information on her, and as you sit there wondering why I call her the queen of theft. I'm not too good at it, but that's what we call in this business a tease. So stay tuned for more information on her. The Knights now 25-2. They haven't lost a game since December 14th. It has been an amazing run for the Knights, who have now won 14 in a row. 14 in a row, snapping the 15-game winning streak of the Falcons. It's been unbelievable, and talking with head coach Mike Cini, again, just giving a lot of credit to those around him. The third opponent that we had beaten in the Final Four, shouting out Greg Whitcomb, our athletic administrator. They are certainly not looking ahead to anyone, but now are able to do so as they prepare for their home finale coming up this Wednesday, February 26th, against College of Southern Maryland. And College of Southern Maryland, they are coming off of a pretty big game themselves. They come into the game just 11-12 overall, but they upset the Howard Dragons on Friday, the 21st of February, 92-67. Not just upset them. This isn't your regular, the Hawks come in, the underdogs, and they win it at the buzzer. They controlled this game, from jump. 25-point win is certainly a statement on your season, and even if they finish the season under 500, you're using a game like this to build for next season. The game highs in that game, Caroline Lawrence, a double-double on 30 points and 16 rebounds. She shot 11 of 16 in that game against Howard. Amani Holloway, 23 points, 10 rebounds, had a double-double herself on 8 of 12 shooting. And while her points didn't show up too big, Shanice Lewis finished the game with a game-high 11 assists. She had 7 rebounds and 4 steals. So that game against Southern Maryland will be coming up on Wednesday, 6 p.m. here at the Kingdom in the Wellness and Athletics Center. Remember, admission is absolutely free, and we hope to see you there to send the Knights into the postseason on a high note. Right now, we're up against our first commercial break. When we get back, we're going to talk about some of those young ladies that you will see on Wednesday and give you some more information. You're listening to the Kingdom Podcast, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics.
Let's talk about college.
Times have changed.
We've changed.
I refuse to accept an education that comes with a mountain of crippling debt.
I will not confuse a fancy name with a quality education.
Let's talk practical.
Let's talk flexible.
Let's talk smart education.
For all the practical thinkers, the achievers, the can't wait to get started types out there, your community college is waiting. Rethink what's possible with CCBC. Visit us online at ccbcmd.edu and see what you can be.
We are back on the Kingdom Podcast, and don't forget, head to ccbcmd.edu. Still could be some classes available. It might be something that you're looking for, want to take, looking to have some fun with something, or you just found out that you are a credit or two shy of graduation, so you're looking for that last credit. Again, ccbcmd.edu. We are talking women's basketball here in the Kingdom. We just got done talking about some talented young ladies from the College of Southern Maryland. They're coming in on Wednesday the 26th for a 6 p.m. game to end the Knights' home schedule. Now let's talk about some of those Knights that have been shining all season long. A name that we have frequently talked about on this program, Maya Moy, coming into the game. She is averaging 23.4 points per game. That ranks her number 3 in the NJCAA Division I. She leads the Maryland JUCO Conference, and she is she is in first in the region in the entire divisional setups, number 1, no matter what division it is. But she's just not a shooter. She likes to distribute as well, and she's got the stats to prove it. 6.8 assists per game. She ranks 4th in the nation, 3rd in the conference, and 3rd in the region with those stats. Maya, if you haven't seen it already, an unbelievable Sports Center-like highlight clip of a shot last week against Lackawanna. We'll put the clip in the description of this podcast here on YouTube. Go and take a look at it. We put up highlights from the Lackawanna game, and she comes down the court, and she looks like she's going to drive the paint. Does a stop, and her defender did not stop with her. She ends up, falling to the ground, sliding about another 10 feet. And then if that wasn't bad enough, Maya stepped back about a foot and just drained a three-pointer. It was an amazing set of events there, and kind of put the first nail in the coffin in that game, although it was far from over. Moving on for the Knights, Casey Gagan. She has been, she's the captain of the team. She's the heart and soul. Her points per game, she's at 16.6 points per game. She's 11th in the conference, 9th in Region 20 Division II. But again, we called her the queen of theft earlier, and that's because she's averaging 4.4 steals per game. That number is 3rd in the nation, 2nd in the conference and the region as well. It's, some of her steals, she just comes out of nowhere for it. I think that same highlight against Lackawanna, she comes out of nowhere at one point and picks off a pass and gets things going the other way. She's a grinder. She's going to get in there and mix things up and make things happen for the team. She is definitely somebody that you want on the court for your team. The third person that we're going to highlight today, another sophomore, Aislinn Flynn. Ace is averaging nearly a double-double on the season. She's 9.6 points per game and 10.2 rebounds per game, which puts her in the top 30 in the nation. She's 11th in the conference and 8th in the region. Her blocks is where she really gets it done. A lot of teams in the women's basketball rankings, you need and want that big person in the middle. At 6'2", Ace is definitely that for the Knights, and she is backing it up with 3.5 blocks per game, 7th in the nation, and then 2nd in the conference and the region. And she is using that to her advantage. There have been some games this year that she'll tell you, she didn't score as much as she would have liked to and get those numbers, but she's still been able to contribute on the boards and with the blocks on defense and helping this team win ball games. Coincidentally, the three of these young ladies just last week, as you may have seen on social media, all had an official visit to UMBC. And telling you right now, what a pickup that would be for the Retrievers to get those three young ladies. And if you haven't come out to see them, I highly recommend coming out to see them Wednesday the 26th here at CCBC Essex in the Wellness and Athletic Center, because when they get over to UMBC, should that be the path that they take, it's not going to be as inexpensive as it is here. It's not going to be much more money, but it's free here, so you can't get it better than that. So that's where things stand with basketball. The Knights going to be the number 1 seed in the Region 20 Division II tournament coming up shortly. When we have the seeding information on that, we will pass it along to you, dates and times and so forth. It's going to be held at Howard Community College this year, and more information coming on that. Right now, we're going to hit a quick break, and we're going to preview some spring things going on here in the Kingdom and around. You're listening to the Kingdom Podcast, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics.
Let's talk about college. Times have changed, and I refuse to accept an education that comes with a mountain of crippling debt, because paying off student loans for the next 30 years is not in my financial plans.
For all the practical thinkers, the achievers, the can't wait to get started types out there, your community college is waiting. Rethink what's possible with CCBC. Visit us online at ccbcmd.edu and see what you can be.
We are back on the Kingdom Podcast episode number 26. We thank you for hanging in there with us. We were just talking about women's basketball, their big win over Lackawanna, 85-71, to run their win streak to 14 games. And they will have their home finale this Wednesday, the 26th of February, against College of Southern Maryland. That game will tip off at 6 p.m. We are going to switch gears here and switch seasons, switch sports. We are going to talk some lacrosse coming up on the same night as the basketball game. Women's lacrosse will get their season going. They have a scrimmage. I believe this is the 4th or 5th year in a row now that they will have that scrimmage against College of Notre Dame of Maryland. That game will get started at 5, so if you want to come check that out and see a little bit of the scrimmage before coming into the basketball game, that will work. Last season, the Knights, they took care of the Division III NCAA school 13-10. The game doesn't count for anything, but we kept the score. 5 returners to the Knights this season, including the team's 2019 leading scorer in Alex Stroman. She finished the season last year with 42 goals, 13 assists. And next week's episode number 27, we'll have head coach Candace Schroeder on the show to give us her preview for the season, so stay tuned for that. On the men's side, men's lacrosse comes into the season, and before I forget, kudos to our women's team. They are in the poll for this year as the number 5 team in the country, so kudos to them. The men's team comes in ranked number 7 in the nation, and I don't know of a team out there that's going to have a more difficult beginning to the season than our Knights are going to have. They start the season against Nassau Community College, who comes in ranked number 3 this year, and they were the national runner-up last season. The Knights have not beaten the Lions since the 2015 national semifinal, which they won here at home as the Knights were hosting that tournament 17-16 in overtime. They had a couple of close games in 16 and 17, losing by just 1 goal, but have not been able to best the Lions since 2015. The Knights will play 3 of their first 4 games against top 10 opponents. Again, a very difficult schedule to start the season. They will begin in earnest this Saturday against number 3 Nassau. That game, first face-off, will be at noon at the stadium. Shifting over again, another sports shift here. Baseball getting things started, and if you look outside here in the Baltimore metropolitan area, you're wondering if I am crazy. But fear not, they're heading down south. They will leave Thursday afternoon to head to Boone, North Carolina, where they will play a 4-game set over 2 days against Caldwell Community College and Technical Institute. The Cobras, I believe it is, will host the Knights 2 on Friday and 2 on Saturday. And then, weather permitting, we return to face one of our sister campuses on Tuesday, March the 3rd. We'll be at Catonsville to take on the Cardinals. And 2 days later, the Cardinals will make the trip on 95 to head to the Kingdom and take on your Knights. So we will see about that. Keep an eye on things always at ccbcessexknights.com. You can follow us on Twitter at CCBC Essex Sports for any reschedules. The Knights come in very optimistic on the diamond. The preview we had a few weeks ago, we talked to Coach O'Connor and how he was able to, really pull a bunch of rabbits out of his hat. He accepted the job in the summer and had a roster of about 7 young men, and we are getting ready to. We have certified and have rostered so far 26 young men, and hoping to finalize a few more. But kudos to him for getting this team together. We have 4 returning ball players off of last year's team, 3 pitchers and a fielder. Returning for the Knights on the mound, Ronnie Jones Jr., Jeff Young, and Rocco Marquez. And coming back in the field is infielder Luis Gonzalez. You'll see more of them as we finalize our schedule posters for the spring sports. Hopefully we'll have those out soon. But looking to get the season started, as we said, down in North Carolina, a 4-game set with Caldwell Community College and Technical Institute. And we will have the results, stats, and information for you once those ball games are played. So stay tuned. You can follow the baseball team on Twitter and Instagram at Essex_baseball_. It's Essex_baseball_, and keep tabs on them. Working our way backwards, the men's lacrosse team, find them on Twitter at Knights_MLax. The women are at the similar handle at Knights_WLax. And then your women's basketball squad on Twitter is at Knights_WBB. That is all the time we have for today's episode. It's a quick hitter, but don't worry, with all this action happening over the next week, next week's episode promises to be a bit longer. We are going to have Aaron Thomas back in studio. He is still getting over strep throat incident, so we appreciate him keeping his germs at home and continuing to get well. And we'll have the results from women's basketball's home finale when we return next week. Until then, we thank you again for tuning in, because without you, we would not have any of this. So thanks again. We hope to see you next week. And until then, take care. So long.